Well, welcome back to the studio, everyone. I'm glad you could stop by. I hope you're having a great day today. And I thought we'd get together in the studio this afternoon and kind of visit with one another about the painting that I'm doing and talk a little bit about the composition. As I said before, or in the past, when we're doing our paintings or whatever it is that we do, if it's poetry or writing music or whatever it might be, you get to have an inspiration to give you a want in your heart to either illustrate a painting, and that has a lot to do with the composition or anything else you do. But as I've said in the past, I've been in the ministry for 30 plus years, and so that's a pretty good chunk of my life. And so most of the things that I do, it brings in my remembrance, if I might say, the kingdom of God. And my composition today kind of ties in with that. I thought this bridge would be a good illustration that when we transition into the next world, I kind of looked at it like this was a bridge to get there, a bridge of faith. And so whenever I put this together, I come up with the name or the title of the painting, The Crossing. And I hope you enjoy it as we paint this afternoon. And I hope that this will bring something to your memory also as I paint. So, and I encourage you, if you could paint along with me, that'd be wonderful too. But anyway, as I'm establishing here the water under the bridge, you got to have a little water when you're painting a bridge. So that's what I'm doing right now, putting in the values and the underpainting on the stream. And now here I've trying to establish the foliage back into the distance. And again, this is an early fall scene. There's some color, but also there's green grass. And so you just kind of plan this out with your map, your road map that you're trying to establish with your painting, with your color values and saturations. That will tell the story of the painting when you're done. The composition is lacking if you're lacking in color value, or you might say in your finished product. It'll show that there's things lacking, and there's a lot of things lacking in my paintings, I guarantee you. As I said before, in the past, I painted, and I get kind of discouraged sometimes, and we all do, because it doesn't turn out the way we had planned for it to turn out. But you know, it's most of your viewers look at it and they enjoy your paintings when you get done, but I guess we're too critical as we're trying to establish. Here I've kind of started to put in the trees, get their location, and the texture in that. And I say, whenever I'm applying my values in watercolor, you want to keep it as light as you can, because you can't regain that if you get it too dark. And here I'm trying to put some lighter values in the trees, which I'll darken later. But because it's in a shaded area there, but I'm trying to establish where I want to put them and get the outline of the bridge also. But yeah, in the beginning of your painting, it's just kind of feeling your way through and getting a good balance in your composition. Trying to establish the main branches on the trees. Just trying to find my place for the branches. And of course, like I said, they'll be a lot darker as the painting continues. You see a lot of hesitation in my brush here. Once you establish your object in your painting, it's there. So it takes a little bit of thought before you establish it. Make sure that you have it where you want, and that you've got a good balance in your composition. You know, it's the things that you're trying to bring out as the center of interest, and which is what? The bridge, of course. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is build around the bridge and not take anything away from that bridge. I have a really, really great friend that I had met in the Army when I was serving. And he's a country boy. I think the world of him. I've had two brothers and they've passed on and they're not here any longer. And he's kind of taken the place of my brothers, which is a hard thing to do. But he sent me a note the other day when I finished this. He said it'd be a great place for an afternoon walk. And I said, yeah, it would. It would. Trying to get the outline of the bridge now, as you can see. I got injured a few years back at my job, and it damaged some nerves in my hands, and my left side is really bad. But on my right, I do pretty good. I think it's all tied in, but I'm thankful that I didn't damage it to a point where I couldn't paint. And the guys that I was working around, that's the first thing they asked was which hand did I and wrist did I mess up? And I said it's my left, and they were all tickled that it wasn't my right hand, because that's what I paint with. But you can see some tremors in it, and you don't have to be perfect to establish what you're trying to come up with here. You know, bring in some dark values on the distant bank and some color as we go along. Most of you know, whenever you're painting, it's the way you use your brush that tells a story. You don't want to just make even strokes and what have you, but you need to bring in texture in your painting and highlights in your color values. And if you have to explain it, then you failed in an area or two as you painted. But most people will see your painting and see what they want to see in the results of it, and but your eye needs a little help to see different textures, and that's what I'm trying to do here with all the little concerns that I'm doing, trying to establish texture. Of course, the value is not deep enough here because it's close to you here, and you should see it in a way that brings some deeper saturations the closer it gets to you. So my water, I've lost a little bit of my highlights in my water, but I think I can regain it with a little bit of white paint when I get done. But just trying to add some texture here. This is a painting I did earlier. Quite satisfied with it. When I use the term satisfied, it means that's a descriptive word that can mean a lot. You're pleased with what the results are, but maybe not to the point where you've hit that mark. As I said earlier, I don't think you'll ever hit that mark. That's what keeps you painting and trying to illustrate something. Yeah, that's in your, not only in your gift, but also in your heart. I thought the title of this painting was pretty good for myself as I stopped and kind of reflected on that bridge, which holds a big importance. It's a bridge of faith is what it is, and that is your promise, is that we have faith in Christ, and as we cross over, that will mean everything to us. And so when I painted this is what was in my mind. I'm starting to darken it up a little bit, but I hope you enjoy my painting or my other paintings also that I've done. Started my channel just to share my gift that God's given me, and I've painted all my life. This is something I've done. There's a period in my life that I didn't paint. I wished I had of, but I got busy raising a family and what have you, and got back in civilian life and started raising 3 boys with my wife, and I laid my brushes down for, 25 years or so, and I was talking to my grandson, and he's very talented also in the art world, and I was trying to explain to him that, you've got the gift of art in your soul, unless it's a shame you don't use it. And he says, I told him, so let's go downstairs, and I cracked my paint box open, and it hadn't been open probably 25 years. And I started prying the lids off of the paint, and I was trying to establish some clouds, and he said, I just can't do that. And I said, well, no, you can't until you try. And I said that something ignited in my heart whenever I did that. And I got this craving that I can't explain that put me back into the painting world. And pretty much I have painted probably, I have no idea, in the past 5 years or 6 years, I've painted over 100 paintings. I don't know how many I've really painted, but I hope the good Lord gives me a little more time. I'm 77 years old, and I hope I can add a little more time to paint. And I look at some of our masters in the painting world, and some of them passed in their 50s. I think it was Remington that painted the Old West paintings. I think he died as early as 53 years of age. Don't quote me on that, but died so early with appendicitis. And so right in the peak of his career, he was taken. And I think about that a lot. And I wonder, as we do cross over into the next dimension, I wonder if we'll take our gifts with us. That's something to ponder on, isn't it? I think it's what a waste if we don't, that we've applied all of our lives with the gifts that God's given us, and then just not ever use them again. And I think in the next world we'll still use them. I've not been there yet, but one of these days I will, and you will be also. Here I'm darkening the trees up, trying to bring them back into the shadows, which I'll bring some darker foliage as we continue here. And I wanted to establish some shadows coming over that high rise, that rise that they're sitting on there. Putting some branches in. Here we go. Now I'm starting to lay in some of the green grasses that are growing on the near banks. Trying to get some highlights in that also. As I said, you're laying out your composition. You need to know somewhat in control on your values. You've got to have that in your mind. As I say, as you're illustrating your paintings, you may not know exactly where you're going with it, but it does take time to sit down and to establish a route as you break it down. And as you can see, the lighter colors in the distance are so valuable, and I wanted to show the sky amongst the leaves. And to do that, you've really got to be careful. You close it off too much, and you won't have that opportunity. I hope you all don't mind the music I have in the background. Some people like it, some people don't. But I have watched other painters that establish music in theirs, and it's the same thing over and over and over, all the way through it, and it just about drives me nuts. I hope this doesn't interfere with your enjoyment here, but kind of fills in the dead spots. The way I ramble, it's not many dead spots to fill in, to tell you the truth, but I think there's value when you do visit with one another, as if, if I hadn't said what I did about how this was inspired. Now, here's one that I really enjoyed doing, but part of it is just knowing what inspired you. And, it's, for this, to me, has a deeper meaning than just a painting. It has a valuable statement that we all will face. And so I try to get that over through this painting. And here I'm trying to bring in some greens and some color. Here I'm trying to swallow up the end of the rails of the bridge. And like I said, the bridge will be darker when I'm finished. One of the things I don't like about my watercolor paper when I'm finished, without a lot of weight on the painting itself and keeping it flat, it gets distorted. And so I've been thinking about mounting my paintings on panels, and I'm going to do that. It keeps the paper from buckling and what have you, and so it kind of have a kind of good presentation when you get done with it. I had to edit this painting twice. I got to fool around with my computer, and I'm not a wizard when it comes to the technology we have today, and somehow I dislocated my painting somewhere in the system, and I couldn't find it. So then I had to wind up re-editing the painting. So lots of work goes into a painting. You got to sit down, you spend a few hours establishing your composition and putting it all together, and then you have to edit it. And believe me, you just don't do that in a blink of an eye. And anybody that takes this on, they'll tell you it's not. You got to really want to do it. That's what I'm trying to say. You really got to want to share with people, or you just won't do it. There's a lot of work involved in it. And my inspiration is just to share my pictures with you all. I know there's better painters, but hopefully maybe you can kind of pick something up. I think you can acquire in painting the knowledge as you watch other painters. And I would encourage you that there's a lot of painters on YouTube that you can watch and pick up some skills and some techniques that you normally wouldn't do. I used to struggle with watercolor really, really bad, and I got to watching some of the presentations, and And I thought, well, golly, why can't I do that? And so, again, it's just having to want to in your heart to do it. And so I started painting with watercolor, and I think I like watercolor more than I do with the oils and the acrylics and what have you, and the pastels, and they're all good. I like to play with all of them, but for some reason, watercolor intrigues me whenever I sit down to paint. You see here, it's kind of coming in a little bit better now. I got some color coming in. As you can see, I've got some highlights amongst the rails of that bridge that's got to go. I just haven't done it. Actually, it'd probably been better that I had done it before I started bringing in my detail. And that's hard for me. It's kind of like the icing again on the cake. I tend to want to get to that too quick when there's other things, but we're not too bad shape here, so. I get so involved with my painting, I don't realize that I'm getting my picture out of frame. And I did one painting not too long ago, and if you've watched any of my channels, you'll probably see it, that I've got the charging cable that's hooked to my camera hanging down in the last part of my painting. It just aggravated me to death, because once you've established your painting, you can't go back and take the cable out. So I deemed to just go ahead and produce the painting with that cable hanging down. I figured at least you could see some of my technique as I was applying it to the picture. Yeah, I'm trying to bring some highlights in the bark. Not happy with it, but it's kind of back in the shade there, and the highlights shining through the timber there, coming back. It doesn't take a lot of brush work to bring out highlights. Sometimes we get carried away with it, but Just trying to make the trees stand out a little bit more than they are. We had a farm years ago, and I remember those farm days, and I was thrusted into a city life, and it never was a good fit for me. If you love the city, I'm glad for you, but it was not a good fit for me. Never was, and so I long for the existence in the country as I was growing up, and as much as I could get to the country, that's what I did, and my paintings reflect that. I hope that country life still resides in me. Saying that goes along with that about taking the country boy out of the country, but you'll never take the country out of that boy. And so there's a lot of truth to that. And there's those that could care less about living in the country. But my generation was blessed because we grew up at a wonderful time that children, for the most part, could enjoy the day and not worry about the things that can happen to them today. And so an innocent time is what I'm trying to say, that we had a very innocent time. And I feel sad for young people today because they'll never know that. They'll never know of those joys. Some of the greatest things that make our country so great no longer are with us, and it's a real shame. If you want to get a taste of those days, what we call good old days, one of the greatest illustrators that I think lived was Norman Rockwell. And his paintings or his illustrations was just as spot on as it could be with the innocence of our country at that time. And I don't know about you, but I long for that. I long for that. Once you taste it, it's hard to forget it. And some of the greatest things that we have that we're losing, people don't think much about it until you lose it. And then after you've lost it, there's a great hole in your heart that's gone, and you can't recover. You just won't restore it back. Here, I'm trying to put a little texture in the water. just a real peaceful little stream that flows into that bridge, and it would have to be spring fed. But there's some ripples in it, and I have to regain some of the highlights in that water to make it stand out the way I want it. You say, what is those little specks? I don't know. They're just specks. There's a lot of things out there in nature that you can't explain. So, I try to keep my paintings down under an hour. So they're not so boring. And in our YouTube videos, you can always skip forward if you get too bored. But like I said, there's certain things that you might not know that you miss out on. And pretty much whenever I'm watching an artist work on YouTube, I'm pretty well there till it's done. So I guess there's no hope for me, huh? There's much said about what happens when we transition from this world to the next. And none of us knows until we're there. God's Word explains what we need to know, and that's all we need. But my brother, I got to visit with him. He had Agent Orange, liver cancer, and in his last remaining days, we would sit out on the porch and talk about how beautiful the clouds were. And the subject of passing from this world to the next came up. And I told my brother, I said, there's nothing to fear, even though I've not been there, but we have God's promise in our hearts. And that's where this bridge of faith comes across in our life. And I said, when your time comes, and the Lord calls you home, somebody will come and get you. Somebody that you know will help you establish your crossing. And that's what I named this. I thought that'd be a good title, The Crossing. And I hope you get something out of this. And not only the joy of the picture, but also a peace of mind that if you call on the name of the Lord and accept Him as your Savior, you have nothing to worry about. We're created as eternal beings, and we can't die. So take heart in that. Putting a few leaves out here, kind of make it look nice. Trying to. Some highlights there. Again, I hope you're enjoying this. That's why I'm painting it. Don't get too carried away, because that's what I usually do. Take it too far. Just just a few little dots tells a story. You don't need a whole bunch. Trying to do away some of the highlights in that bridge. This is one of my recent paintings I did of the Rocky Mountains. Winter scene. Now here I'm bringing in some highlights in the water, trying to recapture some life that's moving water. It does look like a peaceful place to take a stroll. Kind of reminds me of a time when my brother and I were very young, and we had a place here years ago that we fished in, and there was no bridge that you cross back in there and to get to the water that you wanted to fish in, and then the lake came in and swallowed that bridge up with about 70 feet of water. But you know, I can still remember that bridge and the joy it was that we had playing amongst that old bridge, and we would go back to those bluffs, and we would catch what we called the ring-neck snakes, and they were like worm snakes is what they were like, and we had the biggest time. I wish young people could experience that. Excuse me. You can almost hear that little brook babbling as it comes down the ditch there, the little stream. That's what I like about Missouri. We have 4 seasons, and every season is unique in its own way, of course, but some states you live in, you don't have that, and I think you miss a lot by not experiencing those seasons. Back when I was young and had to get out and work, it was pretty tough, and in the construction world. But today my job is to paint pictures. I kind of like that job. Okay, I'm trying to get that sized up. I don't know, for some reason, the older we get, we reminisce a lot about our childhood experiences. And our emotions are a lot different. And I think when we slow down and get to this period of life that myself is in now, you look back to things that really were valuable that you didn't think too much about, and as time swallows them up, it becomes quite evident that it was a precious time in your life. Trying to get a little more highlights in the foliage. Trying to bring some highlights here in this portion of my painting, lighter stems, or brush, whatever you want to call it. I really enjoyed sharing this painting with you today and our visit we've had. My word of encouragement for you. I hope that means something to you, especially in this day and time that we're experiencing. But yeah, I've enjoyed sharing this with you, and I hope you got something out of it. And here I'm going to establish a darker contrast in my bridge. It needs to stand out, so that's what I'm trying to establish here. But if you like to draw, and if you like to paint, I'd encourage you to do that. It can be relaxing or it can be frustrating. But hopefully that the latter will be what you'll experience, that you will get a joy out of it. It's funny when you're painting, you sit there and you hold your breath in certain areas while you're trying to establish what you're trying to get painted, and you forget to breathe. And, the writing doesn't have to be real perfect. It really doesn't. Life is not perfect, and the things around us surely are not. Kind of darken the shade up underneath that bridge. Got to make it stand out a little bit. It's getting close to time to wind this up and head out. I hadn't illustrated anything, or for the last 3 weeks. My son came up from Texas and we had a great time, and so I kind of laid my paintbrush down a little bit and enjoyed their visit. And I miss painting when I don't paint, so sometimes it's good to lay it down and get away from it for a little bit. But anyway, I just want to thank you all for stopping by, and I hope you was with me throughout the whole process. And by golly, we'll do it again down the road. Whoop! Drop my brush. That wasn't a controlled technique there at all, but it just shows you can struggle your way on through and you don't even notice those mistakes. You guys take care of yourselves, and I just wish you a great life and happiness, joy, and I would encourage you to accept Christ in your life, and He'll make a big difference in the outcomes of all your problems. Be well. Talk to you later. God bless you. And thanks again. Bye-bye.